Hey there YouTube. So today I want to go through and do a user suggested video, which is how to create a Pac-Man clone using SFML. Now to kind of save some time, I'm going to be reusing the maze game that was made from the season 1 of SFML game development that I did. So you can go ahead and download that code right here. And if you are interested in the tutorial for that, you can go ahead and check that out right here. Basically, this code is being used to save some time. We're going to go through and make our game called Grassman. And these are actually going to be using graphics that I pieced together from using another guy's graphics named Kenny NL. Now, Kenny NL does some fantastic artwork. You can check out his website right here. Highly recommend you do so, and please, please, please donate something to him. His graphics are fantastic. They're beautiful. I just can't even begin to describe just how well done they are. He's got some games and stuff he's worked on as well, so if you want to buy those to support him, please just find some way to support him. Please, I recommend doing so. Again, check out his website up there. But yeah, so without further ado, let's jump on into the code. If you have other suggestions for things you'd like to see, comment below. I'll advertise that at the end of the video again too. So today, let's go ahead and make Grassman. Alright guys, so here we are in the code. I've gone ahead and opened up Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition. Now we are going to use the maze game from before as the template code, as I mentioned previously. And to start that out, what we're going to do is we're actually going to convert that over to a Visual Studio 2015 community project. So make sure you go ahead and download that source code. That's going to be down below in the description. And what we're going to do is we're going to come here and create a new project. And let that open up. And again, it's going to be a Visual Studio, Visual C++ empty project. And we're going to go ahead and just name this Grassman. And then we will create it. Now, this is going to go ahead and set it up with nothing in there. So what we need to do now is we need to go and get it set up like the previous project. So if we go ahead and we bring over the old project running in Visual Studio 2013 and you open up the properties, the first thing you'll notice is the directories. We actually need to update these. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here to the properties, go to directories, and again we're going to go through and do /third party lib/include, and we're just going to go ahead and copy that and come down here to library directories, and we are going to then paste this into here and change it to lib. So now that we have those, we need to go ahead and add in those dependencies to the linker. In this case, we can go ahead and just copy and paste most of this. So we will come here to linker input and then open up this. We have our dependencies here. Go ahead and paste those into there. Okay. And so that is all done. So now what we need to do is we need to go through and we need to open up the code and add in all of the necessary files. So here's the directory that Grassman is in currently. And what we are going to want to do first of all is we're going to want to open up the maze game project as well. We need to copy over these third-party libraries. So let's go ahead and do that. And this, of course, has our include for SFML as well as the library files. And it's also got some DLLs in this case, but those aren't going to be kept in there. They're actually going to be over here in our source folder. So we're going to go into Grassman here, and we're going to copy all of the DLLs, all of the C++ files, and then all of the .h files. And then we're also going to copy the graphics and the fonts. So we come here, we paste those, and now we need to go through and add those to the project. So an easy way to do that is, again, sort by type. Take all of the source code files, so your .h and .cpp files, and just copy those and paste them into here. And you'll notice that these are actually set up to be linked from that directory. It's kind of cutting it off right now. Let's bring this out just a bit. And you can see partially that it's coming from Grassman. So that way we don't have to go through and do anything too complex to get them all over. So now we have all those files. Let's go down here and let's see what happens now when we run the game. Now this is important to keep in mind when you're porting your projects over. So we go ahead and say yes, we want to build it. And it'll go through and build, and then it will error out. Now the reason you're getting these errors, if we look closely, is that this is related to the SF text. Basically, the font libraries and such haven't been converted over from Visual Studio 2013 as of this video. So they're only compatible with Visual Studio 2013's libraries, not the ones for 2015. So what we need to do is we need to come over here to Platform Toolset and change this from 2015 V140 to 120 Visual Studio 2013. And now if we go ahead and we build it, and we also have warnings. Don't worry about the warnings. Those are just casting warnings and stuff like that. They should be fixed, but we're not going to worry about them right now. And you'll notice that it's all built. And if we go ahead and we run this, we will see that it is the maze game made previously. Again, check out that video if you're curious as to how this was made. It's a pretty basic demo. All it is a couple guys that will chase you around. Two move randomly, one stands still, and one of them just kind of follows you around. So we're going to drag him over here just to kind of show this off real quick. And then come up here, grab the key, come down here to this little red door, unlock it with the key, and go out. So that's the basic game. So now what we are going to do is we need to make a couple of adjustments. So the big differences between this and Grassman is that, first of all, the title obviously needs to be changed. We could also change the color. Sorry, just getting emails all over. So we've got our titles that need to be changed, maybe change up the color scheme, and we also have a few things here. So first of all, we don't really care about the keys. The only things we really care about are the score and the lives. Then we also need to update the graphics, obviously, which I have some nice little graphics for that right over here. Our grass and our wall and our flowers. So the grass is what you're going to be trying to get. Walls block you from moving, and the flower is kind of the special bonus points. The enemies we're just going to keep the same. And we also need to adjust the movements so that these can move. And we're actually going to also set it up so that any space that's not a wall or an item of some sort is going to be filled in instead with the grass, which is the objective of the game. Now this is actually going to cause a few different issues. If you've tried to do this on your own already, you'll notice that the collisions for the game are very, very slow when you do that. And we'll go through and show how to fix that. So let's go ahead and dive right in now. So to start things off, what we first need to do is we need to adjust the game that anywhere that there's empty space, we want to draw our grass. So before we do any of that, let's go ahead and start by updating the graphics. So if we come over here to Grassman, and we see we have door, enemy, key, test, wall. What we're going to do is we're going to come here, we're going to take all of these, and we're going to paste them in. Now I don't know if we're actually going to use the flower. I'm still kind of debating on whether to add that in. That's pretty basic. You just choose where do you want to put it. I guess we can do that real quick. But the big things now are that we don't need this. We will keep the test. We don't need the key, so we can go ahead and delete that. And we don't need the exit door nor the normal door, so we can go ahead and get rid of those. And then if we come over here to our header files, we can get rid of this door. And we can also get rid of the exit door. And we can go here and we'll change this from key to grass, just to keep everything consistent with the naming schemes. And we will keep the ID 3 for that. No reason to change that. And that should be good for that. Now we need to come over here to the main game state. So in order to properly update this, first of all, we don't need this anymore because we're not going to have a 3 object. We're going to have 0, 2, we're going to get rid of the 4 and the 11s. And what we're going to do is come down here to our load levels. If we come up here to, are they not showing it up in here? I guess not. So what we want to do is we want to come down here to load level. And within load level, originally we had it set up so that 1 was the character, 2 was a wall, 3 was a key, so on and so forth. Well, we can do a few different things. We can get rid of door, come down here, and again, get rid of door. I don't know why that was set up in that manner. And again, get rid of door. Next, we need to come here and change that to grass. And we need to come up here to our included files as well and change this to grass. Get rid of those two. And we'll go ahead and build just to see where we are, and we're all set. Now, the final thing we need to do is we need to come down here where it was key and change that to 0, and then update the key name to grass. And let's just go through and double check that we're not using key anywhere else for that. And we are not, so that's all done. So now if we go ahead and we run this, you will see that in our game, all of the keys, all of the blank spots are now this grass texture. Now, this is where things get a little tricky. You'll notice that our game is lagging a whole lot, our enemies aren't properly moving, and a whole bunch of other things. So what we actually need to do is we need to fix the collisions in our game to start. So let's go through to start, and yes, I know my phone is dying. So let's go through now and update our collisions. So the reason for this is if we go over to our entity manager where the collisions are, and we come down to update. So what we're doing is we're going through every character, we're making sure that there is a character there, and we're checking if there's a collision event. And if there's a collision event, we go through every entity again and then check for collisions between it. Now, if you look at the game, we don't actually need to do that. We're actually doing a lot more work than we need to. Really, the only collisions we care about are our main character and our enemies. So what we need to do is we need to update the code so that it only checks collisions if it's a main character or if it's an enemy. So we need to come in here and say, if there's a collision event, and this iterator dot second group ID is equal to 1 for our main character, or, and this is where it gets tricky, because our enemies are set to a variety of types, what we need to do is we need to take this and we need to get the minimum enemy and the maximum enemy ID. So 5 is easy, 6 is medium, 7 is hard. So now what we need to do is we need to check that it's greater than 4 and that it's less than 8. And that will basically just verify that it is an enemy or it is the main character. And that will only do collisions in those instances. So now if we actually go look at the game, you'll notice instantly that it's already much, much more playable. So that's the first big point. The next big thing that we're going to want to do is we're actually now going to want to set it up, and you'll notice that our grass textures are very, very big. This is just due to the size I set them at. Obviously we could go in here and we could scale it down. Go ahead and close that. We'll come over here, and what we can do is, I believe that we made these guys, let's see how big they are, 30 by 30. So let's go ahead and, actually I do not want to edit with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this with GIMP, just to make things easier. So go ahead and bring this over and do image scale 30 by 30, and that will be saved right there. And then we will do the same for this. Oops. Go ahead and bring this here. And now, if we go ahead and we run the game, everything should look a little bit more reasonably sized. A bit better. let's verify real quick how big our doors and such were previously. So our wall size was 32 by 32. Whoops. So let's go ahead and try that again. So let me bring those back over. My apologies for this. Did not verify these graphic sizes beforehand. So what we will do is do image scale 32 by 32. So there's one. And here's our second. So image scale 32 by 32. And that will hopefully look just a tiny bit better. So here is how it looks now. You'll notice everything's just a little bit more manageable. And we can go ahead and collect instances of 1. Now again, notice that our enemies are having some collision issues. So let's go ahead and adjust that. Now the reason for that is if we come over to our main game, we go up to our collision handling method here, you'll notice that we check for collisions between the enemies and nothing else. We just verify that it is colliding, that the enemy is having a collision, and in this case we will go ahead and say less than 8. But you notice that we just check for a collision and that they are not an enemy. Basically what we want to do with this is we want to check that, well, that's the first one. We also do that same check here. So really what we actually can do is we can go ahead and we just want to check that they are colliding with the walls. So if we come down here to wall, you'll notice that the wall ID is 2. So we can just go ahead and change that to 2. And now, if we come over to here, they will be able to run over those, but they will not, but they will still collide with the walls and such. And yeah, so it's pretty straightforward, nothing too complex there. So now that we have that out of the way, let's go ahead and make this level look a little bit more like a Grassman level. Oops. So if we come over here, actually I'm not going to worry about that too much. It's actually pretty straightforward to do a lot of this. Really all you have to do is adjust this and add in more 2s and stuff for the walls. Now the next thing to notice is that wherever the enemies are spawning, they don't have the grass underneath them. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and adjust that. What we're going to do is in our load level, we're also going to add in a grass texture to wherever the enemies are. And we're going to do that first rather than second so that the grass gets drawn and then the enemy on top of the grass. And what this is going to do is this is going to go through and just make things look a little nicer. Oops. And we need to also make sure that we add this in underneath so that it sets the position to the correct spots. And now we have grass underneath everything. So the next step now is to fix our main character's movements. So let's go over here to our main character, and you'll notice that our velocities are set via this tricky little math function. Now if you remember correctly, what this does is it basically makes sure that when the keyboard right key is pressed, it's 1, because 1 minus 0, since the left key is not pressed, is 1. Then when this is pressed and this is not, it would be 0 minus 1, so then it would become negative 1. And when neither are pressed, it's 0. What this does, though, is it makes it so we can never stop our velocity. So what we actually want to do is we want to change this to a basic if-else statement for checking our keyboard keys. So if we come here and we just set that, then we can also go through and set our velocity.x is equal to 1. And we will do the same thing for the left key. So if we do this, then it's going to be negative. Of course, we then do the exact same thing for up and down. So down will be positive, up will be negative, and this will be in the y direction now. Now, the other big thing to make sure that we do is to set our x velocity to be 0 when we move in the y direction, and our y velocity to be 0 when we're moving in the x direction. And the reason for this is that we don't want our character to be able to move diagonally. We only want it to be up, down, left, or right. So if we come over here and we start playing now, you will see that we move at a constant velocity. And we cannot go diagonal. And when we hit a wall, we stop, and we have to change directions. Now, of course, there's some other stuff that we can do. We could, of course, set it up so that that guy there does not move around into walls and such, but I'm not going to worry about that too much for right now. The final thing that would need to be done is to make sure that all of the grass is picked up. Now, I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. It's pretty simple to go through and do. The last thing I am going to do is I'm going to adjust the score for this, because that's going to be the major component. So if we come down, we notice that we have our keys method, our keys stuff right here. We can actually just go ahead and get rid of all that, and we can just adjust this here. Now, all of this can be deleted as well, and then we can come over to the main game here and get rid of the keys object. Now, for our main character, right here, we can also go ahead and get rid of this key stuff, since that's no longer needed. Oops, yes. And we also want to make sure that we update the method for when we handle keys and stuff. So what we want to do now is we actually want to set it up so that when they collect the grass, we increment the score. And in this case, it's going to be at a point of 1. And because there's no entity 4 now, we can go ahead and get rid of that. And that is really it now. So now if we go through and we play the game, we should see our score increase. And our lives will, of course, still decrease when we get hit by an enemy. And you could, of course, have that enemy respawn somewhere else. In this case, let's go ahead and do that real quick. So now, we don't actually set the initial position for the, well, actually, do we have that here? I don't know if that was part of this. Yeah, see, this is not stored normally. So what we could do is we could go through and add that to the base class and reset the enemy positions. The other option, of course, that would probably be a bit easier in this case, is to just set it to a static place. I'm not going to worry about that too much. What I am going to do is I'm going to make it so that the enemy does not kill itself. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So now our enemies will not die. So now if we go ahead and we run into this guy, we die, but he continues on with his normal thing. And of course, again, the best way to go through and adjust a lot of this with making it more maze-like would be to add more walls, probably adjust some of the boundaries and such. The big thing you'll notice is that collisions are going to be very difficult to do due to the fact that the walls are kind of small compared to what the character size is. I'm not going to worry about that here, because that's not really something that really needs to put too much effort into. As you can see, it's kind of hard to fit between there. It's very precise, but you know, that's all pretty simple stuff to fix. You just adjust the size of the sprites and go from there. So this is kind of our basic Grassman tutorial. Let's go ahead and finish this up by just updating the title text. So change that there and make it on a new line. And then we want to update the main menu. So we'll come here. No, we want to come here. And again, Grassman. And I just remembered that in our main method, we do not want to have it have that new line character. And finally, where's our font color? Oops. There we go. And RG. And that will adjust it to be green instead of red. And there is Grassman ready to go. And a basic game where you now have to go through and pick up all of the grass on the lawn and avoid these little garden gnome color things. So that's kind of it for today. I hope you guys found this useful, and if you have any other questions or comments about this, feel free to leave it below. And don't forget, I will be answering questions every Monday with project ideas and such, so feel free to ask and put in requests. Just comment below, and I'll do my best to get to as many of them as I can. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Shout out to, who did submit this? Give this person a shout out real quick. Put that over here so as not to put anyone on the spot. And the person who sent me this suggestion was... Here we are. Lauren. So shout out to Lauren for submitting this suggestion. I hope you guys found this informative and useful. And again, if you guys have any other requests, feel free to submit them. If you want to see maybe an OpenGL simple cube tutorial or something, that's a great one I can do. Just try and keep it something that I can do relatively quick. I don't want to do another 2-hour video. I'm saving those again for season 2 of my Twitch stream. So that'll be coming up in the winter, so we've got time for that. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you next time.